Action, active duty military. Chief Special Warfare Operator William Ryan Owens, 36, of Peoria, Illinois, died January 28th in the Arabian Peninsula of Yemen. Wounds sustained in a raid against the Al-Qaeda. He was assigned to the East Coast Special Warfare Unit. Local veterans. As of yesterday morning, Joseph Hacker, U.S. Navy. Veterans from around the state and nation. Virgil Ike Wasson, U.S. Army, Korea, Indy Honor Flight, 3 Bronze Stars. John L. Wyatt, U.S. Army, Korea. Donald R. Vogelwid, U.S. Army, Korea. Eugene E. Wagner, U.S. Army. Douglas Frank Adair, U.S. Air Force. Thomas R. O'Grady, U.S. Air Force, Korea. Ronald N. Neff, U.S. Navy, Vietnam. Richard Maddox, U.S. Navy. Paul D. Petrie, U.S. Air Force. Donald L. Zimmerman, U.S. Army. Maurice D. Ransbottom, U.S. Army, Korea. Frank P. Harris, U.S. Air Force. Dean Allen Wright, U.S. Army, Korea. Richard D. Shue, U.S. Army, World War II. Robert Stephen Buer, U.S. Marines, Vietnam. John W. Loser, U.S. Army. Max Litke, U.S. Air Force, Vietnam. Harvey R. Siegel, U.S. Army, World War II. Kenneth W. Long, U.S. Navy. Leo E. Chapman, U.S. Navy Seabee, Vietnam. Arthur James Shaw, U.S. Army Air Corps, World War II. Leon Sajula, U.S. Army, Korea, Vietnam. Glenn Edward Craig, U.S. Army. Kenneth Timothy Warnicki, Montana Air National Guard. Donald M. Sorensen, U.S. Navy Swift Boat, Vietnam. William Paget, U.S. Army, World War II, Indy Honor Flight. Gerald Huffman, U.S. Army, Korea, Indy Honor Flight. Sol Rubin, U.S. Army, World War II. Keith F. Pavlich, U.S. Navy, Vietnam. Harold J. Barnett, U.S. Army, Korea. Eugene Wilfred Vogel, U.S. Army. William J. Wilson, U.S. Army, Japan Occupation, Korea, Bronze Star. Alfred Leroy Lightfoot, U.S. Army. Richard M. Mattia, U.S. Army, Korea. Roy E. Loveday, U.S. Army, World War II. Ralph O'Neill Martin, U.S. Navy, Korea. Miles Weston King, U.S. Navy. Douglas Curtis Antley, U.S. Army. Ralph J. Snyder, U.S. Army, Korea. Nicholas DeCisa, U.S. Navy, World War II. James Ray Todd, U.S. Army. Thomas Henry Murphy III, U.S. Army. John J. Renato, U.S. Navy, World War II. Richard Clarence Keeney, U.S. Army, World War II. Jack E. Eisenhower, U.S. Navy, World War II. Michael J. Turzan, U.S. Army, Vietnam. William Scott Costello, U.S. Army. Henry C. Bernadette, U.S. Army, World War II. Violet R. Madura, U.S. Army Nurse Corps, World War II. George Richard Stadley, U.S. Navy, World War II. Lawrence Ray Soundkirk, U.S. Marines, Vietnam. Robert L. Malojewski, U.S. Marines, Vietnam. Jack Moore, U.S. Army, World War II. Joseph T. Zicki, U.S. Navy. Gerald R. Ducot, Sr., U.S. Air Force, Korea, Vietnam. William Ray Pert, U.S. Navy. James Aaron Robinson, U.S. Air Force. James F. McMahon, U.S. Army Air Corps, World War II, DFC. Noah Jonas Ludi, U.S. Army. Paula Marlene Thompson, U.S. Air Force, U.S. Navy. Olden Conrad Nichols, U.S. Army. Erwin L. Mark, U.S. Army, Korea. John H. Dale, U.S. Army, World War II, U.S. Navy, Korea. Kirby Benton Seal Sr., U.S. Navy, World War II, Korea. Police and Fire from around the nation, Deputy Chief James G. Malloy, New York Police Department. Sergeant Stephen Floyd, Delaware Department of Correction. Officer Ernie Mumal, Metro Nashville Police Department. Rosie the Riveters, Phyllis Armara. Clarice Marion Barrett. Betty Singalato. Jenny A. Cameron. Doris Marion Cardelli. Ruth Gilmore. Norma Jean Karcher. Doreen Francis Kazanovic. Danetta Kramer. Pauline Novalinsky. Mary Lou Odham. Patricia Prince. Marie M. Quill. Estelle J. Recking. Jeannie Benson Soroka. Bernice N. Swisher. Gladys Swoop. Eleanor White. POW MIAs recovered. Army Corporal Melvin R. Hill, 19, of Pomona, California, will be laid to rest February 4th in Alex, Oklahoma. Killed in action November 27, 1950. Recovered 1994. Army Master Sergeant Ira V. Miss, Jr., 23, of Frederick, Maryland, will be laid to rest February 8th in Arlington National Cemetery. Died while POW June 1st, 1951. Remains recovered 1954. Moment of silence. Order. Stand fast, please.